Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please be upstanding for ordinary meeting 4551 of Hunters Hill Council. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and waters of Hunters Hill, and Council pays its respect to elders past, present and emerging. We are joined today by Robin Harvey, who's going to deliver the prayer and also make an announcement.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to introduce our new minister, the Reverend Jiong O, who was inducted into our church yesterday, actually, we're looking forward to a wonderful time of ministry with her. I just thought I'd bring her along so I can show her that you don't all bite, and I don't think she's ever been to a council meeting before, so that new experience for her. So thank you. Heavenly Father, we thank you for gathering us here today. We ask for your wisdom to guide the discussions of the councillors and for open minds to hear one another. Please bless the decisions that are made, that they may be just and serve the best interests of our community. Help our councillors to be diligent, collaborative, and to act with kindness and integrity in all that they do. May their time here tonight be productive and result in positive outcomes for all of our neighbours in this community of Hunters Hill, Boronia Park, Woolwich and Gladesville. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. The proceedings of all council meetings in open session, including all debate and addresses by the public, are recorded and webcast live on council's website for the purpose of facilitating community access. Webcast archives are stored and available to the public on council's website. The recordings may be disclosed under the provisions of the Government Information Public Access Act of 2009, the GIPA Act. Members of the public attending council meetings may have their image, voice and personal information, including their name and address, recorded, publicly broadcast and archived, or as an observer or other interested party, members of the public consent to the use of their image, voice and personal information. Councillors, we have an apology from Councillor Kassab. She said that through earlier. Can I have that moved? Moved, Councillor Sleeman, seconded Councillor Vergara. Any discussion? If not, sorry, Councillor Lane.
Since this is the second time we've had an apology from Councillor Kassab, could we just understand the reason?
Medical,
okay.
I believe.
Thank you.
Yep, personal. Councillors, can I put that to a vote? All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Are there any declarations of interest? If not, I'll move to the confirmation of minutes of ordinary meeting 4550 held 27 October 2025. Moved Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Sleeman. Any discussion? Councillor Lane.
I sent through a request to just note the amendment process for 2 items to the General Manager over the weekend. I just wanted to see
response, Councillor.
I didn't see the response.
Oh, sorry, Councillor. I checked your amendments were agreed and accepted by the movers, so they just become part of the original motion.
They become the motion. Yeah, they're accepted.
We don't need to record that.
Right. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I did email you earlier.
Councillors, any further questions on the minutes? If not, I'll put that to vote. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. The council reports. Councillors, I move to item 4.1, Hunters Hill Council Annual Report 24-25 and presentation of audited financial statements for the year ended 30 June 2025. Is there a mover? Moved, Councillor Sleeman, seconded. Councillor Vergara.
Well, the auditor's here.
Sorry, the auditor is here. Councillors,
a presentation that they can give, or we could just ask questions. Whatever the preference.
Councillors, would you like to get a presentation or just ask questions? Presentation?
Yes.
Yes. I'll just invite the auditor up. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's get the financial officer will introduce the auditor for us.
So this is our auditor, Sue. Sorry, Richard. Sorry, yes. got in the moment. So, yeah, Sue is from the Audit Office of New South Wales, and she is the lead on our audit. I forgot your exact title.
That's fine. I can deal with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, councillors, council executive, and members of the public. Thank you very much for the invitation to present on the conduct of the audit. So my name is Sue Pritchard and I'm the signing auditor on the Hunters Hill Council under the delegation of the Auditor General of New South Wales. We're assisted in our work on this audit by one of our audit service providers, being Prosperity Advisors, and Alex Hardy, the partner from that firm, gives his apologies for the meeting today. So tonight I'll take you through the audit work program of the Audit Office for 2025-28, with a focus on areas for the upcoming local government reports also, and also our report on the conduct of the audit of Hunters Hill. So the audit work program. So the focus of the audit work program, which will be carried out by both the financial audit teams and also the performance audit teams, focuses on efficiency and optimal use of public resources. So key areas for the financial audit review will be the administration of grants, major capital projects with a focus on overruns and WIP write-offs, climate-related risks and opportunities, and First Nations communities. The Audit Office also recently produced its annual internal controls and governance report in relation to the state sector, which focused on procurement and technology, which may also provide some guidance for the local council sector. In terms of planned performance audits in the local council space, so there is currently a performance audit commencing in relation to the long-term financial planning of councils and the strategic approach to managing finances over the long term. Performance audits are also planned on ARIC effectiveness and integrated planning and reporting compliance. Additionally, there will be performance audits looking at the effectiveness of councils in overseeing large capital projects, and also climate risk adaptation and understanding and addressing service needs related to waste management. Annually, we produce the local government sector report based on findings from the 2025 audits, and that report is currently being drafted. So the report will include the results of the council audits, analysis of financial sustainability and the fiscal health of councils. We also perform some additional work in relation to IT and cybersecurity and the emerging topic of AI governance. The report will also include the monitoring of significant capital projects and also themes from our management letters around councils relating to internal controls and governance. I'll then move on to the report on the conduct of the audit of Hunters Hill. So I have completed the audit of the financial statements and I have issued a clean audit opinion on the financial statements, which means that the financials did not contain any material misstatements and present fairly. A report on the conduct of the audit has also been provided to the council, which they have published in accordance with OLG guidelines. In relation to the financials, so the income statement, so revenue overall decreased 6.1 million or 21% compared to the prior year. Annual charges increased 6%, predominantly due to the 5% rate peg increase. Grants and contributions for operating grants reduced by approximately 570,000. 200 of that is a timing difference in relation to the financial assistance grant, which will be received next year. 118 was a decrease in recreation and culture grants and 156,000 in relation to a decrease in transport grants. There was also a significant decrease in grants for capital purposes. This was reflective of a very high level of grants recorded in 2024 as significant projects were completed in that year. such as Fig Tree Park, Boronia Sports and Community Facilities, and the Gladesville Reserve. In relation to the operating result decreased from a 6.4 million surplus in 2024 to a 1.6 million deficit in 2025, representing a decrease of approximately 8 million. This was due to the decrease in revenue of 6 million, previously explained, and an increase in operating expenses, mainly due to materials and services, and an increase in depreciation due to inflation of the costs and also due to new assets. We've shown there some additional information in relation to the grants and contributions revenue, but just a graphical representation of how significant the grants were in 2024, and you can see that tailing off in 2025. The unrestricted current ratio measures the council's ability to pay short-term obligations as they fall due from unrestricted cash. So the ratio decreased from 2.5 times in 2024 to 1.9 times in 2025, although it is up from 2003 levels. The average ratio for metropolitan councils is 3.7, so council is slightly below the average. The decrease was due to the decrease in revenue, an increase in materials and services, which impacted the cash balances, and also there was an increase in the current contract liabilities. In terms of cash and investments, the cash and investments decreased from 20 million to 19 million, and external restrictions increased by 1.1 million due to unexpended grants. 7.5 million of the funds are restricted, mainly due to developer contributions, domestic waste, and special purpose unexpended grants. And there is some further information there. In terms of council liquidity, the ratio we use measures the months of expenses available to be met by the cash equivalents and investments. So as at 30 June, this was sitting at 7.5 months, which is a slight decrease on the prior year. In terms of capital expenditure, we've shown it there by asset class. Capital expenditure went up 5.1 million, being 2.8 million on renewal of the existing assets and 2.3 million on new assets. And as you can see from the graph, the highest spends were in relation to land and buildings and roads, bridges and footpaths. So that draws me to the end of the presentation. I would like to thank the finance team for all of their assistance during the audit, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillors, any questions? Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your presentation. It was really informative. I noticed that you made reference to a long-term financial audit, planning audit. Is that something that is being done in the near future, or is that not?
It's actually just commencing at the moment, so that will be done over the next 6 months or so.
And is that including this council, or?
Not specifically.
So it's a general.
Yes, a number of councils have been selected as part of that audit, but I don't believe Hunters Hill is one of those.
Right. I think you highlighted the importance of having the budget relate to operational expenses as being the sustainability factor for a council, because we've had ups and downs and significant decreases. So there often is confusion as to what is the sustainability of the council financially. And what's your opinion in relation to the operational side as being the financial marker for sustainability? Quite often people get confused because capital items and grants are put into the budget process, but my understanding, and previous auditors have confirmed it, is that sustainability of the council is measured by its operational budget, less grants and capital. Is that your opinion?
We use a number of metrics to measure the financial sustainability. You'll see that we have included in our report on the conduct of the audit, the formal one that gets included in the pack. There are quite a number of financial measures that we look at. You're quite right. It's looking at one item in isolation is probably not appropriate, and you need to look at many factors. Financial sustainability, and those grants in particular do go up and down quite a lot depending on the timing of when the project work gets done, because capital grants are booked at the time the work is performed, not at the time the money is received.
Final question relates to in our last year's budget, we had an unrealised asset sale, being a land sale. I'm just wondering, is that normal for councils to have unrealised assets, the sale of them within their budgets?
I'm not sure of the detail of that one. I'm afraid I have to defer to management. I don't know the
There was 2.5 million allocated in the budget as a sale item which hadn't been realised, and it was never realised.
I'm sorry, so it was in the budget, but it was not in the actuals?
Correct.
Oh, okay. We don't audit to the budget. We only audit the actual.
Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Lane.
Thank you. Just to understand, so I think you said the operating result, which was just shy of $8 million down, and I think you said it's typical for councils to operate at a 3.7 time ratio.
That is the average across metropolitan councils. Yeah.
Right, and we're at an operating loss of minus 1.56 times.
That ratio relates to the unrestricted current ratio. So council's ratio, it was 2.5 in 2024, and it's 1.9.
Oh, so this is the liquidity. Okay.
Yes.
But that's
How much we got?
so we've been operating below our the average liquidity level, and now we're going.
It's not a liquidity.
Sorry, the unrestricted current ratio.
The unrestricted current ratio, correct.
So is that something that you're looking to go up? Sorry, I guess my question was, what are the indicators that you're looking for in terms of I noticed you're doing this 3-year trend. So what would you be looking for in the coming years in terms of these key indicators?
Well, in terms of the indicators, we just provide those for, council's benefit and for people to review. It doesn't form part of the audited accounts that's included in our report on the conduct of the audit.
Okay, but are there red flags that you would be looking for in terms of the audits?
In terms of the audit, we are focused on whether the council is a going concern.
Yes.
Which is, can the council meet and pay its debts from 12 months from the date of signing the financial report? So we have concluded as part of our audit that the council is a going concern.
Right. I guess why I'm asking this is, going back to liquidity, I think you said that was 7 months. So at the time of the audit, that's no longer that we can afford a full 12 months. It's been declining, and it's now declined to 7.5 months.
So yes, there you're talking about the council liquidity ratio.
Yes.
So yes, that at 30 June was 7.5 months, which had decreased from the prior year. Yes.
Yes. And so, for example, if that was 6 months or 3 months, at what point would that be an alarm bell for you?
We would obviously need to do further testing to see what measures council were putting in place to ensure that they were a going concern going out 12 months from our time of our audit.
Right.
So we would look at other factors and whether there was any cash coming in.
Right. I think, you mentioned the long-term financial plan. My concern is that all of these indicators are pointing south. Our long-term financial plan is pointing south. And so it's great you've given it a clean bill of health. I'm just trying to understand, at what point does it not become a clean bill of health? It feels we're heading in that direction. So I'm just trying to understand where those indicators lie.
Yes, from an audit point of view, it would be if there were indicators that you were unable to pay your debts for 12 months from the date of signing the audit report.
Okay, thank you.
Councillors, any further questions? If not, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. The motion has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councillor Priest.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to note a couple of things. Firstly, to Councillor Lane's questions around the liquidity ratios, there is indication that the lower level benchmark is 1.5 times, and that our current ratios indicate that the council has a healthy ability to meet its short-term financial obligations and manage its immediate cash flow requirements. Secondly, I just wanted to note I really liked the pie chart on 24 and 25. It goes towards what feedback we'd given council in prior years around clearly indicating sources and uses of council revenue and expenses. And it's a really easy way for councillors and members of the public to digest the information, which is often really hard to find and decipher in P&L balance sheets. It is interesting to me that grants only comprise 11% of council's total income.
This year.
This year.
Yep.
As a small council, actually the smallest municipality in the state, I would expect that council should be keen to grow that proportion. We really rely on state and federal government grants to be able to deliver that top quality service to our residents and the community they deserve. A keen eye and a better eye on grant opportunities going forward, and that's something that I think all councillors have been pressing council staff on in this term of council at least. So that would be something that I'd like to keep a keen eye on going into the next financial year. And the third point and the final point that I just wanted to highlight out of this report was interesting that there's been a decrease in council revenue generally. To my mind, this is also something that we should be keeping a keen eye on going into the next financial year, and we really do need to find ways to make council financially sustainable now and going into the future. And with a decline in revenue, there is simply no way that we can make that happen and therefore be in a position to deliver such services to the community that the community does deserve. Obviously, this is not the time to brainstorm for revenue generating opportunities. However, I do think a decline in that proportion of revenue for council is a huge alarm bell. You're speaking about liquidity ratios and all different sorts of abstract metrics that aren't really causing alarm bells to me, and I work in the capital markets. What does raise alarm bells for me is a decline in council revenue. So I just wanted to put that on the radar, and perhaps I can see the GMs taking down some notes. So these are the three things that I would be kind of looking at as we move forward into the next FY. So thank you, and thank you very much for your report.
Thank you, Councillor Preston. Any further discussion, councillors? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we're dealing with 4.1, aren't we?
Is that correct?
Yes, okay. Through you to the General Manager, I went through it in some detail, but maybe I missed it. There's no report here on our special rate variations. There's one on a specific thing, which is on page 31. I'll find it. Anyway,
Under the title special variations.
yes, that's right.
Yes.
Special rate variations. There's only one item there, which I thought, that was the ongoing special rate variations is reported, but the other rate variations, which I thought were obliged, the ones that are shorter term for 10 years, we're obliged to report on in our annual report. Is that the case? And if so...
So, councillor, I'm a little confused here because it says maritime structures. It's got two rate variations there. Buildings, it's got the expenditure on buildings. There's about 8 items there. Parks and sports fields on page 32. There's four rate variations there. Stormwater and drainage 1, curb and gutter 2, roads and bridges. There's about 8. And then it goes on to section 712.
Yes, but it doesn't actually list what we're doing for the community in relation to the special rate variations. It has,
I believe they're all the expenditure from the special rate variation.
That's all
Those
listed items under the special rate
And then-
variation.
yes,
Our
but
current budget, we've listed the new
okay, they're
items.
dispersed between the reports, but aren't we required to report specifically on those rate variations, i.e. a special section where the residents can find what we've spent on those special rate variations, which are project based or delivery based?
Sorry, councillor, are you looking at page 32 of the report?
I'm not looking at page 32. Where are we? Page
32?
Look,
Page 32 has a list of all the
That's-
special
that's-
rate variation items that are being expended.
but just in relation to that and a reconciliation back to the money that's been. Sorry, sir.
32 is our legal expenditure from what I can see. 29 is where it's got special rate variation, permanent special rate variation is listed. I can't see where the other non-permanent rate variations are listed. Anyway,
32 of the business paper, 30 of the report.
yes.
Yeah.
But that's the permanent. They've got a series of rate variations. One is a permanent one, which is not going to.
Fixed rate levy.
No, sorry, councillor, there was a fixed increase to the base rate case,
Right.
and then there were special rate variations, which is what's reported here.
Well, it says permanent special rate variation. It doesn't say anything about, anyway, you might have a look at that.
I'll have a look.
We'll have a,
We do
yeah.
make the comment on page 29 that we have 2.8 million capital renewal program funded from special rate income, and what we've stated there is that there are some projects that haven't been completed and they're carried forward into this year's budget, so they're actually being documented in the current year's budget. But we can come back with a more detailed summary for you.
Yeah, well, it depends on what we're required to do. I was of the understanding that you're required to give a little bit more than what you've given.
Yeah, we certainly do, and we certainly put it as part of the annual reconciliation and annual, we restrict those, internally restrict those funds for the next year to make sure we cover off those special variations that have been carried forward.
Okay.
Councillor Williams?
I don't know which page you want to refer to, page 75 of the
Paper?
paper, yeah. And it really sort of reflects the issue in relation to the audit as well. And I think Councillor Lane alluded to it. We're running a constant series of deficits. And our 10-year operational, long-term 10-year financial strategy, is that going to be updated to reflect where our trend is now? Because
Yes, councillors, that's the work we're doing now that the statements are finished and that we've got the quarterly review completed. We'll be building in all those details. We'll be building in the recent proposed organisational restructure to show the savings there. We'll be looking at our asset recycling program and building that into the long-term financial plan. We're also reviewing our depreciation rates to make sure that we're actually doing that correctly. I'm a bit concerned that we've probably been overcooking those a bit. And so that'll all come back in a 10-year plan, and that's what we're working on now to try and get that up to council as soon as possible.
we were going to have through you, Mr. Mayor, we were going to have a workshop.
We are going to have a workshop.
That was going to be in October, but
It was going to be in October, but with the statements and the workload, we haven't been able to get to it. We're hoping to have it all finished for December.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Williams. And
It's November, I promise, but we're going to get there.
it looks like it's going to be December. Councillors, any further commentary, questions? Councillor Tanus-Lehmann.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I've just got two questions. On page 77, we've got just two line items. Assets have increased from 324,276 to 330,842, and liabilities have increased from 7,948 to 9,009. What are the key factors in both increases?
Mr. Mayor, the increase in the assets is just a function of our renewal program and the addition of new infrastructure assets. So it's as simple as that. As to the liabilities, it's basically unspent grants. So we've received money for grants, and we're holding that as a liability because we're unable to recognise it as revenue at this stage.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. Councillors, any further questions? Commentary? Speakers? Against? Paul? Right of reply? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. We now move to item 4.2, quarterly budget review statement, September 2025. Moved. Councillor Prieston, seconded. Councillor Vergara. Any discussion? Councillor Prieston? No. Councillor Lane. Question?
A question, and then I'll move an amendment. So the question relates to page 229 of the papers. There's a adjustment recommended increase for Gladesville master plan of 82,210. Through you to the general manager, what's that in relation to?
General manager.
It's just we're completing the work, so we've got that money in reserve.
Yeah, that's the pinching up the DCP and all the other work that we're still working through just for the consultants.
That was budgeted.
That's been budgeted, yeah. So we just carried it into reserve and now moving it back out.
Okay, so previous budget coming forward, not a new 82. Okay. And then on page 231, there's a decrease in the capital works budget of 13,500 for the Hunters Hill kindergarten building. And I just wanted to understand what those works were that we've decided not to do.
I think I'd have to come back to just to double check that, but unless you know exactly what it was.
I don't know exactly.
So I think the work might have actually been done, and then we've had it in the budget twice. But I'll come back to you on that one. But I know
I would hazard a guess. I don't know this for sure. There was a plumbing issue, a toilet plumbing issue that I think the tenants might have covered costs on. But I think we'll get back to you on that one.
And there's also some issues around the guttering that I think was sorted out as well.
Right,
cleaned out.
Okay.
Let me come back to you with an answer tomorrow on that one.
Okay. Well, in that case, no further questions.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Turnbull.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, question regarding the grants for operating purposes on page 228. It says employee benefits and on cost. An increase for fixed term employment contract from FOGO at 60 grand. Then it stated decrease labour hire for FOGO on page 2029. Can I just get clarification on that?
Mr. Mayor, we're just reallocating. The initial plan was to engage a contractor to do that work, and we're just putting on a fixed term employee instead of engaging a contractor. So we're reducing the materials and services budget by 60,000 and increasing labour budget by 60,000.
Okay, can I ask is that a prorated amount of hours engaged at 60,000?
Yes.
That? And fixed term contract, what's the tenure?
I think it's 18 months.
18 months.
That'll get us the FOGO up and running, and then 6 months to settle it in.
Are we sharing that cost with Lane Cove?
No, because they're doing FO.
Okay.
They've doubled down on the
Okay.
FOGO. Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Very, very trivial, but it's throughout the report. You might look at page 226. It's got at the top in the blue line 2025 or 2020. It's minor, but I think you'd like to have that repaired.
Get that fixed.
It's throughout the report. Just to try that. on page 225, in the cash reserves, we talk about having 0.67 million in unrestricted funds. That amount, is that the same fund or the same location within our cash reserves that we used to have $9 million from the car park sale? Is that all we have left of that fund?
No, this is unrestricted cash. So of the 9 million you're referring to, we have about 4.6 million left in the capital repurposing reserve.
Right, okay. Now that is unrestricted, we can do.
The 0.627 is unrestricted.
Yeah.
Councillors, any further questions, commentary? Reply, councillors? No, sorry, councillor Prieston.
Really looking forward to having the fig tree amenities works complete after all this time. And I just wanted to commend the staff, particularly Christian, on this report. It was really easy to work through, and it's become a lot clearer. The tables that you used for the grants and the capital increases and decreases clearly show where money is being shifted from one project to another where required. And it sets a good basis on which we can continue to use this format, I think. FOGO is so expensive, and that will be all my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Prieston. That's the second bite of the cherry, I might say, on the FOGO commentary. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, now move to item 4.3, youth programs and services. Move Councillor Prieston, seconded Councillor Tanu-Sleeman. Any discussion, Councillor Prieston?
Yeah, just quickly, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to thank Annie for her work on this. I know it's been a lot of back and forth with councillors and members of the public to arrange, along with the stakeholders involved who run the two programs and the schools. At the last meeting of council, there was a little bit of debate around the expenditure and where council should appropriately be putting its funds in relation to youth programs such as these. Obviously, we all are in furious agreement that mental health, particularly for youths in our municipality and across the state, is paramount. And it was prudent of council to reflect on exactly how much these programs are costing and how the money should be most efficiently spent, and so as to not disenfranchise other schools or children across the area, which is how we ended up with a great recommendation in this report, which is that we split a $9,000 grant, so to speak, to both schools, Riverside Girls High and Hunters Hill High School. While it still doesn't sit extremely well with me that this is to the exclusion of other schools in the municipality, as I mentioned at the last meeting, this is better than nothing, A, and B, at least we're covering two schools, and one being a single-sex female school and then the other being a unisex school. So I'm hopeful that Annie's had some fruitful discussions with the heads of these two schools and that they're keen to take on the responsibility for actually running the program. And I think it's great that council can make a small contribution that might go a very long way. So thank you, Annie.
Thank you, councillor Prieston. Councillor Vergara.
Can I propose an amendment? Well, I've sent an amendment through.
Yep.
Can I propose that to be moved or and seconded for consideration?
Yep. We'll just pull that up on screen. Sorry, councillor. Councillors, it is helpful when you can circulate that to everyone, as in colleagues as well. Just, I know I'm like a broken record, but it is good if you can, when proposals are being, or amendments are being tabled, that we can do that. Councillor Vergara, do you wish to?
Speak to the amendment?
Well, no, do you wish to, speak to the amendment? Yep.
Yes, I do. On Monday, the 10th of November, a young man from St. Joseph's College community died by suicide. The loss of this young man has rocked the St. Joseph's College community, which include a large number of boys, young men and families from the Hunters Hill municipality. The loss has also filtered through the broader Hunters Hill municipality, with many non-Joey's families touched by the sorrow, and many parents and carers in our community more anxious than ever about the mental health and well-being of their children. This tragic event has brought sharply and stingingly into focus the very thing that I, along with councillors Tanu Sleeman and Prieston, were seeking to address the very first time Reverend Armstrong pressed council to take steps to improve the mental health of the youth in our area. We wanted to ensure that action council took to uplift youth mental health reached every corner of the municipality. We wanted to ensure that council's plan included providing services and programs which are as widely accessible as possible and as inclusive as possible for the youth in the Hunters Hill municipality. We wanted to ensure that council's plan included promoting awareness of the issue and services offered through council across the municipality. We wanted to ensure that council's plan included creating a connected and supportive community environment for all youth in the municipality. Unfortunately, probably because the Reverend's plea was tied to a specific predetermined outcome, the tail has wagged the dog in this instance, and this recommendation does not give council a pathway to offer support to everyone, nor does it empower council to shine a light on this issue throughout the community. It fails to seek to create a sense of belonging in the community and to support in the community that is so desperately needed to effectively and at scale address the youth mental health in Hunters Hill. That is why I'm proposing that council allocate up to $9,000 to run a pilot program to host the delivery of youth mental health workshops in 2026. This is not expenditure of funds in a one-off program delivered to a select few. It's an investment in youth mental health support that is widely available and dynamic and sustainable. If the pilot proves successful, council has the opportunity and frankly the evidence and legitimacy to establish an ongoing budget for youth mental health support, a lifeline that could bring life-changing workshops to primary school age children, educators, parents, as well as high school students in our community. The 2026 pilot could be used to test the workshops specifically referred to by Reverend Armstrong, being one delivered by Enlightened Education and one delivered by the Man Cave. Going forward, if the pilot proves successful, council could use evidence and data of our community's needs and priorities to host delivery of programs offered by other organisations like Headspace and Gotcha for Life, including for different audiences, including primary school age students, educators, as well as parents and community groups involved in youth programs in our community. The goal must be for council to thoughtfully develop and implement a sustainable and dynamic model to improve youth mental health for all youth across the municipality. To have plans long-term to give the young people of Hunters Hill and educators new tools and parents a sense of reassurance. The pilot is the best and most responsible way for council to meaningfully pursue that goal right now.
Thank you, councillor Vergara. Quite heartfelt. Councillors, can we just scroll up onto so the motion is that the report be received and noted, which is what is in the motion. The additions would be that council approves the establishment of a youth mental health pilot program to run in 2026 to address youth mental health within the Hunters Hill municipality by hosting and coordinating the delivery of workshops at Hunters Hill Town Hall or such other suitable place for young people in the municipality by Enlighten Education and Man Cave. The 3, the council directs the general manager through the relevant council officer to develop a project plan for the pilot, including timeline, performance metrics, community engagement. That 4, the council authorise the general manager to allocate $9,000 from the surplus community grants from 28 July 25 for the implementation, management and evaluation of the pilot program. That 5, that council requires a final report detailing outcomes, cost effectiveness and recommendations for a full implementation of the program, including by hosting future programs offered by other organisations of primary school age students, young adults, educators and parents. That B, cessation of the program, or C, amendment of the program be presented to council no later than December 26 meeting. Councillor, the mover and seconder, can I just check if you're comfortable including that in the motion?
Can I just ask a question through you, Mr. Mayor?
You can.
Annie, is this possible, and are there any limitations on council being the host of such programs?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Preston. There are no limitations. Whilst at the moment the Man Cave and Enlighten program are specific to individual schools and peer groups because students are more comfortable talking in an environment in which they know their co-collaborators, it doesn't mean to say that the program cannot be broadened out to something more holistic across the municipality and all children in the area by talking to both the program conductors and coming up with a pilot program as recommended.
Great, that's awesome news. Thanks, Annie.
Councillor, can I just check whether or not you're comfortable including that in the motion? Yes, seconder?
Yes, I am
Yes,
comfortable.
councillor Lane, question. So sorry, that now becomes the motion that we are considering. Councillor Lane.
Just a question to the mover of the amendment that's now the motion, where it says $9,000 to be allocated from surplus community grants. So that would be reallocating the amount that has been allocated to the 2 schools to this program instead. Is that correct?
I don't know if it's a reallocation. This motion proposes to allocate it and the original paper. And so, yes, it's proposing that instead of it being allocated, 2 programs are delivered. So it's funding the same 2 programs. It's the same $9,000 funding the same 2 programs.
Item 4 says that council authorise the general manager to allocate up to $9,000 from the surplus community grants to the implementation, management and evaluation of the pilot program. So this would be the pilot program that you're proposing in this, not Man Cave and Enlighten. You would be withdrawing the funding from those 2 programs.
Can you scroll?
Sorry, if you scroll up, councillor, it specifically names Man Cave and Enlighten Education in point 2 of the program of the motion, what is now the motion.
But not at the schools.
It would be at council under this. As I read this, it would be run at council.
Yeah, so
it would be open to anyone in the community, not just those 2 schools.
Okay, so we're effectively withdrawing these 2 programs that Annie has just facilitated from Riverside Girls and Hunters Hill High School. Okay, I'm happy to talk to the motion then, now that that's been clarified.
Speaker for the motion, speaker against the motion, councillor.
Thank you. I think I'm really concerned that this has been presented as you know in response to the suicides that are going on at the moment. What we heard when Reverend Armstrong stood up is that there were already suicides going on, that these programs made a difference, and that in order to help and reach out to public school kids in particular, they urgently needed the funding. We didn't give them the funding. We deferred it for a report, and then various things took place, and therefore this term there wasn't. Those 2 programs weren't offered in the schools. 2 more people suicided, not from Joey's. And then reluctantly, we reallocated some of this funding so that we could support these 2 programs at least into next year, as well as investigating a long-term project for funding all schools so that they could benefit from from projects, because $9,000, as you've said, is really, as the Deputy Mayor said, is a drop in the ocean. I'm paraphrasing. And now we're in a position where for the second or possibly the third time, we are going to withdraw our funding from those two specific programs at the two public schools in Hunters Hill in order to run it as a council workshop. Now, I've been speaking to a number of people about this, and in due course, I will bring the results of that forward. But as I have stated several times, the evidence is that delivering these programs in schools has a materially greater effect than trying to deliver these through council or delivering them online, and that if we want it to be effective, that we need them to be in schools. Even splitting them among the two schools, that we weren't sure whether it was physically possible. You can see from the report they've actually repeated the projects in the two separate schools because it's not really possible to coordinate between two schools. So what we're effectively doing is, as a result of a suicide in Joey's, we are going to yet again withdraw funding from two public schools so that we can run a program, an unproven program that we've just dreamt up. We haven't actually spoken to people about, is this the right thing to do? We haven't got a youth coordinator on council who's recommending this to us. This is just something we've dreamed up. And what particularly concerns me about this is this idea that because all schools aren't being benefited from this, that therefore we shouldn't fund it. And so there's this, the thing that's not talked about is the fact that there is a massive SRS funding gap between public schools and private schools. And so Joey's gets $4.2 million more than if it was a public school for its 1,100 students. And it can spend that $4.2 million on lots of things. It can spend it on enlightened education and man cave or pools or whatever it likes. But the fact of the matter is, the public schools don't have that $4.2 million of extra money that goes to Joey's, and therefore they're scrimping and saving, and they're going to the church and they're trying to find from parents the amount, and they still can't afford these two key programs. And then they came to us and they asked us for the funding, and then we gave it, and then we withdrew it, and then we gave it, and then we withdrew it, and now we're withdrawing it again. And I think it's incredibly disingenuous to say that it's the three councillors there who, having shut this program down time and time again from the time that I originally brought the motion on behalf of Reverend Armstrong, to say that you're the ones that care about the kids. More children are going to die as we continue to dream up random programs that we have no proof will actually work, rather than funding the two programs that are being proposed to us that we've already had our staff work up and agree to fund. And I can't understand why we would be withdrawing the funding that we've already allocated towards this. If this wants to be your future plan in terms of how we're going to plan for next year, like we voted on last term, that's fine.
Councillor Lane, Councillor Preston, you've got
I just have
point
a
of
point of
order.
clarification. I'm confused because Councillor Lane is, maybe through you, Mr. Mayor, to Annie. Councillor Lane is saying that we're dreaming up a program that might not work. But my understanding of the motion on the floor is that Enlighten and Man Cave will be the programs that council would host. So all we're doing is just encouraging those schools to come here to receive the same exact benefits from this same exact
Councillor,
programs.
I take your program. I take your
I'm
point.
just a bit confused.
Sorry,
To
Councillor.
me, that sounds like
Councillor,
we're not
yes.
withdrawing
Councillor,
funding.
thank
from
you.
these
I've got your
programs.
point. I got your point. Thank
Is
you.
it correct? Am I
Sorry,
being-
Councillor, I've got your point. Please take your seat.
No, it's a question.
Yes, I know. Please take your seat. I've heard your question. Director.
Councillor Preston, I would need to speak to both Man Cave and Enlighten. The program would be varied because the program at the moment is specialised to individual classrooms and peer groups.
Okay.
So to broaden that out across a cohort who may be unfamiliar with each other, there'd need to be a variation on the program. Now, I'm not sure what form that would take. It would involve discussion and to come back again with further information on that. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. We just need to have that robust discussion. Could it be a pilot program? Absolutely. Could it be successful? 100%. But we just need to do our homework before we actually commit to anything specific about that. So I can't give you a right or wrong answer on it. Could it touch an individual and save a life? Of course it could. It might not, but it could. And that's what we need to do. We need to could everything we can.
Thank you. Councillor Lane.
Yeah, so to clarify, this is a different program, and we've just had that confirmed. But this would be the equivalent of saying that instead of having athletics on a Friday in a school, you're now going to offer an athletics carnival at Baronia Park. You cannot take an in-school program and turn it into a brand new program that may or may not be able to be done by these people. But what is going to happen as a result of this motion is that the two programs that were going to be delivered at Riverside High Girls and at Hunters Hill High School will no longer be delivered. So those children that would have received in-school help, and we've already heard about the 7 people that suicided in our municipality, now 8. Those people will not be helped next term because yet again we have withdrawn the funding from those 2 specific programs. Now, I understood last time that we had this discussion, we agreed that since we had missed term 4, we were going to at least fund term 1 for these 2 programs, as well as looking at a long-term project for youth services that would be broad and would consider all things. Hopefully we would get a report from people who have actually spoken to people about youth services telling us what to recommend rather than proposing it for ourselves, as we've done with Councillor Kassab and now Councillor Vergara, so that we would actually know whether or not there were effective programs that we could be running. But I think that let's be clear, the motion as it is on the table at the moment withdraws 2 in-school programs at the moment in order to create as we've heard from Annie, a maybe program that may be able to be run, that maybe people can come to if they can come outside school hours, I guess, if they're inclined to. And I think that this is a backward step. And I am particularly disappointed that this could have just been proposed as part of the forward planning that we had already said would be done for youth programs. And instead, we are once again withdrawing funding from public schools because we think that it's more important to give money to private schools and public schools than just public schools. And so I am against the motion. I would like to see the original motion carried forward.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Tannous-Sleeman, your question?
Question?
Or are you wishing to speak to the motion?
There's a talking point and a question,
Okay. Do you want to ask your question and then you can speak to the motion?
if you don't mind.
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Do we know the percentage of children that live in the area that attend the public schools that actually live in our municipality? We have statistics.
Do you have that on hand,
I do
Director?
not have
Probably
that.
not.
That's not public
We-
information. that I have.
Councillor Vergara, question?
20 no, I can answer that. The Hunters Hill Council's 2021 census data report indicates that 1.7% of school-aged children in the municipality attend public schools. When you add the independent Catholic school and independent non-Catholic schools, it jumps up to 10%. That's from the 2021 data, so it could be out of date, but it's Council's own report.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Tannous-Sleeman.
Thank you. Well, just a couple of things, because this is a very emotive topic and I can understand everyone's viewpoints. Firstly, my condolences to the family. Yeah, it's very upsetting to hear a local family going through this. So I get how emotional this is. Everyone wants this program. I think what I'm disappointed that this has become politicised. This is the fact that we're talking public, private, Catholic, non-Catholic is a concern with me. At the end of the day, we've got a responsibility to our ratepayers. So when we talk about money being spent, it should be about equality. We should have everyone included. We talk about inclusion, everyone should be included. I never saw this ever in all my minutes in all previous discussions. I've been very loud and clear that all lives do matter. Whether my kids go to a Catholic school, public school, or what may be, that's not the problem. We have a problem. We have a real serious problem. And we have a responsibility to our local families. Outside of this municipality, with all due respect, I don't care. I have a responsibility that people voted for me to care about what matters most to our local families. This should not be politicised. It's become a political issue and it shouldn't be. And I think the inference is insulting. It's a pilot program. It should have always been a pilot program. Nothing should be tested with that pilot framework. And should it be well, I would imagine, Annie, respectfully, that if this goes well, we're not saying 9,000. We're not squirming on $9,000. This should be a $90,000, a $900,000 commitment. I want to see much more money allocated to it. So in my view, that if we can plan on ensuring that this becomes hopefully a permanent budget fixture, and I will do everything I can as an elected councillor to do that, because it is a concern alongside some other initiatives in the wellness space that I will be helping to support. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sleeman. Councillor Lane.
I have a point of order. From the 2021 census data, 12.2% of all people attending an education institution in Hunters Hill go to a government primary school, another 5.2% to a government secondary school. That compares to only 8% in a primary Catholic school, although there is 11.9% in a secondary Catholic school. So there are more people in primary school and there are less people in secondary school, but total roughly 20% of all people attending preschool, primary, secondary and tertiary are going to government schools.
Councillor, thank you. I think going to Councillor Sleeman's point, the spirit of the motion to me is to open this up to all residents and school-aged children. And I actually find it a little grating defining whether you're going to a Catholic primary school or a public primary school. But the spirit of the motion, as I understand it, is to make this a program available to all school-aged children. And I don't quite understand why it has become an issue of where the kids are going. I think that's, you'll hold your own counsel on that. Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to express my condolences to the family of Joey's, but also to the other 7 families in Hunters Hill who have recently lost their loved ones, their youth. And I don't know, I just despair at this endless debate around this council chamber on this issue. We're just kicking the can down the road time and time again. We're now going to do something next year as a pilot. So it'll be 2 years before we actually get something on the ground that will help our youth. And it is about lives. It is about people. It is about community and family. And I just can't understand why it is so difficult in this modern world where suicide, youth programs are very high profile in our communities, that we can't just immediately adopt and pick up things that will be meaningful for our community. Now, the motion that Councillor Lane and I supported as the seconder, when this all started off with Reverend Armstrong's passionate speech, that provided a significant contribution to the immediate issue. Council declined to go down that path, but wanted to run a series of programs that tested this and talked to this. It is a here and now issue that we, as a body of elected representatives, and we're all in fierce agreement that we should do something, but we shouldn't kick it down the road. We should be here now, knowing what programs are out there. There's a lot of like Rotary's running programs, schools running programs. Reverend Armstrong's brought to us 2 programs that we're now talking about. To me, I just think we need to get on with it. We need to allocate some real money to this process. $9,000 is nowhere near enough to have a meaningful outcome for our youth. It is about council getting off its butt, going out there and finding what is currently working and then providing funds to have that implemented. I'm not going to get into a debate about what school people go to or whether they live in or out of the municipality. It is about life, about preserving life and building skills within our community for our youth to prosper. That should be our paramount process. $9,000 is really just insulting, I think, considering the number of people that are dying and will continue to die. Why we do pilot schemes and do this, that, and the other. Let's get on with it. Let's provide some meaningful dollars to assist our youth, and we need to be using those programs that are already proven and operational, rather than reinventing things, running pilot programs. Anyway, I think we can do better, and I don't think this motion does it.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Sorry, Councillor Preston, 1 second. Any speakers for the motion? Against the motion? Councillor, would you like to write a reply?
I just want to ask a question to
Yes.
Annie, please, through you, Mr. Mayor. Annie, is there any way that the two schools, subject of the initial recommendation, could be compelled to extend the invitation to other schools in the area? But I'm scared that you might say no on the basis of what you've just told us in relation to keeping it. I don't know what the breadth of this program allows in terms of who the children know and who they don't, but would that be a possibility, or is that something that you could potentially explore?
Thank you, Councillor Preston. I started the conversation firstly with Hunters Hill High School with the wellness coordinator to ask that question about Riverside Girls High coming to Hunters Hill High. And the answer to that was, having dealt with Man Cave and Enlighten, that it wasn't a model that had been tried because of their peer relationships within the school. So then we reached out to Riverside Girls High School, and they felt similarly to that. So we thought we would run the program at the separate schools and split the funding between the two as per the resolution, somewhat a grey area, but as per the resolution. So that's how we came to the process. I also made a call to St Joseph's College last week to speak to the head of wellness there. I'm waiting on a call back to understand what the specific needs are. How can council help support Joey's as well? We haven't yet reached out to our primary schools, but we can certainly do that. All we have at the moment is a starting primary school process and program, and that's an online support for parents and students. And so there's further work that can be done there. We've also spoken to the Northern District Area Health Service. They run lots of joint programs as well. So they're going to come back to us with also models that have been tried in smaller councils across smaller areas and LGAs that might work. We're also going to tap into some apps as well. I have personally been through this with my family. Very difficult to talk about. I know a lot about the subject matter. We are trying our best with the budget that we have. It is best to start somewhere and then build, as I've already previously mentioned. But it is very difficult to listen to this debate when there are so many people touched by it. I would love this council to come together and make a decision, and I can move forward, because if we do not start now, more time will lapse. So I would love you all to come together and make a resolution that I can move forward with and actually hit the ground running before Christmas. I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, and Annie, I will just note that there's one school that you've not mentioned, which is my sister's college, and this is my point. That is concerning to me, because, we cannot forget any child in this process. I think the spirit of Councillor Vergara's, actually, I'll take my right of reply now.
Yes, I was about to pull you on that. Yes.
The spirit of
Thank you.
the amendment is to prevent us from forgetting any child, right? And everyone is devastated. Everyone, this is a really, really, really sad and awful situation, and we could all cry about it. I am worried that by not allocating funds now, and we don't have the funds in the budget to allocate more, we do forget. And then who knows, God forbid, but what happens if in 2 weeks' time, a student from my sister's college, that's just not something that I want to even think about. Part of me is, I asked an initial question of the director, will this work at council? And the answer was yes. And then subsequently we've heard that potentially it might not, because the way that the Enlightenment program and the Man Cave program work is that they like to come to the familiar place and with familiar people. So now I'm actually questioning the viability of this motion. And so I don't really know what to do with that information after the fact. After I've already agreed to the amendment, I now think, will it even work? So I'm in a bit of a predicament, Mr. Mayor, because I don't want to now vote in favour of a motion that will not work, and then, to everyone's point around the table, drags the process on. So I'm of half a mind, depending on my fellow councillors' opinions, to revert to the initial motion and then use extra funds in the next half's budget to allocate to a pilot program that is hosted by council at the town hall or something that maybe isn't with Enlighten or the Man Cave and maybe is some kind of other program. I'm not sure. We haven't got the research or due diligence done on that
Councillor
yet.
Williams, got a question?
Yes, I do. Well, actually, would councillor Prieston consider that the fact is the staff member is suggesting she bring back a report in the December meeting of council, that all the debate around the table is taken away and then comes back in December with a fresh look. I think that would be the way
I think
to go.
that is the intent of the motion, point 5, I think, from memory of the motion.
I think I'll foreshadow a motion.
You can't foreshadow a motion
Why?
because you're the mover of the motion.
Shit.
Councillor.
Sorry.
Or would you like me to foreshadow it for you?
Councillor, I'm going to have to ask, have you finished your right of reply? Because if you've finished your right of reply, I have to put the motion.
Okay.
Okay, councillors, that concludes debate. All those in favour of, sorry, yes, councillor.
Because I did ask a question of the staff as to whether the motion was viable, and the answer was yes.
Yes.
And that is the basis on which I then agreed to
Yes.
the motion the amendment being accepted. And now I've subsequently been told that it's not probably not viable. So I don't know what situation.
Sorry, councillor, that's not what I heard the director say, number one. Number two, the debate has concluded and we have to put it to a vote. All those in favour?
Just
Against?
point of order.
Sorry, councillor Lane. All those in favour of the motion?
No, I'm asking a point of order.
I know that you are, but the debate has concluded. Please sit down. All those in favour of the motion? Against the motion? That is passed on my casting vote. Thank you, councillors. Item 4.4, revised code of meeting practice. We have 2 speakers to this item, councillors. The first of which is Annette Gallard. Annette, thank you. Welcome back, and you have 3 minutes.
Well, thank you for allowing the Hunters Hill Trust to address council on this matter a second time. In our previous address, the Trust commended council on its current arrangements for conducting public input into council meetings. We understand, having talked to the Office of Local Government, that we have superior arrangements to those in place in many other councils, for example, Ryde Council. In fact, the limited opportunities in other places led the OLG to include minimal mandatory arrangements in the model code. This is one of those occasions where the Trust and Council are in agreement that we have the best arrangements for Hunters Hill. We also note that the Mayor has been able to conduct these sessions fairly, allowing multiple speakers to make their arguments as concisely as they can without guillotining them. That is, we all try our best to obey the rules and the spirit of democratic participation. Mostly councillors listen respectfully whether they agree with the speaker or not. On some occasions, the input of members of the public has led to councillors asking more questions of council officers and on occasion amending resolutions. Public input has been managed efficiently and council has the benefit of community views when making their decisions. The last time I spoke to council on this matter, it was not clear whether the current arrangements with public forums could apply. Since then, we've been able to clarify that while the section of the Model Code of Conduct about holding public forums is mandatory, it is possible for councils to supplement the Model Code with their own clauses, provided they are not in conflict with those in the Model Code. It is clear that the clause relating to public input in the Model Code was introduced to bring recalcitrant councils to a minimum standard. It was not meant to stifle public input or flatten every council into a one-size-fits-all model. The Trust would like to see Council adopt the revised Code of Meeting Practice, but with the retention of the content of the current Part 4 as alternative supplementary provisions to the new mandatory Part 4 public forum provisions. The supplementary provisions need only apply if Council elects under the proposed clause 4.1 not to hold a public forum. This will avoid any conflict with the mandatory provisions of the Model Code. This would not lock Council in nor prevent it from refreshing the current arrangements in the future as circumstances change. This Council has chosen to adopt and apply the current Part 4 in a way that maximises community input and organises it in a way that is most relevant.
Sorry, Annette. Councillor Williams moved an extension of time, seconded. Councillor Lane, all those in favour? Against? That is, I'll do that again. All in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Annette, you've got 1 more minute.
Okay. So maximises community input and organises it in a way that is most relevant to the topics on Council's agenda. For that, it should be commended. The Hunters Hill Trust would like to see this practice continued.
Thank you, Annette. It's nice to know that the Hunters Hill Trust doesn't consider us a recalcitrant council. Councillors, any questions of Annette? Councillor Preston.
Hi. Obviously, the revised draft code of meeting practice was on public exhibition for 42 days. Can I ask why the trust did not make a submission?
We came and spoke to Council, and so you're well aware of our views. We're speaking again tonight. We spent our time trying to clarify.
Council staff did you speak to? Or?
No, but we spoke to the Office of Local Government, as they were the ones that had put forward the model code of conduct. And we were confused, and it turned out at the meeting last time that there were questions that councillors had that they weren't clear about whether the current arrangements could apply or not. And so we spent our time going backwards and forwards with the Office of Local Government.
Right. Yeah.
Councillors, any further questions of Ms. Callard? Thank you.
Thanks.
We have one more speaker to this item, Jim Sanderson. Jim, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start by tabling a document that was produced by the Department of Planning, Housing and Infrastructure titled 2025 Model Meeting Code Frequently Answered Questions. I'm conscious that councillors don't have that in front of them, but ultimately I'd refer them to the item on the bottom of page 1 of that document, which asks the question can councils can include supplementary provisions in their adopted codes of meeting practice? It is answered, yes, there is nothing to prevent councils from including supplementary provisions in their adopted code of meeting practice to meet the needs their needs, provided the supplementary provisions are not inconsistent with the mandatory provisions of the 2025 Model Code. With respect to Part 4 of the code, the major difference between the current Model Code and earlier Model Codes is that the public forum provisions are now mandatory. However, I note the provisions or proposed mandatory provisions commence with the words at 4.1, the council may hold a public forum. It goes on, but it seems that the whole of those provisions is subject to that discretion. Should council elect not to hold a public forum, it has no further obligation under the mandatory provisions. Council is then free to apply supplementary provisions provided they are not inconsistent with the mandatory provisions of the Model Code. Noting that the current Code's Model 4, Part 4, is entirely supplementary provisions, I would urge Council to retain these provisions as supplementary provisions that apply when Council elects not to hold a public forum. It is important that the current 4 provisions remain accessible for councils that wish to apply them, and I hope this council will wish to apply them. There are many benefits of the current Part 4. Current Part 4 provides the opportunity for members of the public to address councils on agenda items, generally immediately prior to the meeting the matter being considered by council. This process provides a continuum with the public reviews and ideas on matters being put forward, questioned, considered, debated, and the matter ultimately is decided on. This has been a vital element of our local democracy for decades. This provision also provides the opportunity for those who have taken time to address council to remain in the chamber, hopefully not too long, while the matter is debated. It provides them the opportunity to assess.
Sorry, Jim, moved extension of time, Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Ternous-Sleeman. All those in favour? Against? That is carried with the dissent of Councillor Vergara.
Thank you, Councillor.
We have one more minute.
Sorry, I meant to vote for.
Sorry, that's unanimous. Apologies.
This process also provides the opportunity for those who've taken the time to council to remain in the chamber, hopefully not for too long, to observe how council deals with the matter. Allowing this convenient scrutiny of council processes is essential to open governance. By contrast, the proposed public forum process separates public input from council handling of the matter, risking that threads from germinating ideas presented by members of our community will be lost during the handling of intervening matters. We have an extraordinary diverse community. Listening to and understanding what they are saying often improves what council does for our community. It should also be respected that those who address council will generally be people with busy lives, and it is an unnecessary impost on their time to expect them to sit through what is often lengthy debate on matters which may not concern them. Council must respect our community as council would expect our community to respect council. Thank you.
And Jim, thank you. Councillors, any questions of Jim? Councillor Priest.
Hi, Jim. Is there a reason you didn't make a submission during the 42-day?
Well, yes, this highlights the last point I made. I as someone who regularly addresses council, I'm an extremely busy person. I had a lot of other things on my plate. I was very concerned about it. It was important that I, like the trust, examine the issue appropriately so I could present tonight. I did miss the deadline, but that doesn't mean that I don't care deeply about this matter. I think it's so important to local governance.
Thank you, Jim. Councillor Ternous-Sleeman.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Can I ask specifically what you're objecting to?
Yes, what I'm objecting to is the separation of the process. That the current process shows a respect and inclusion for people who come and address council. As we're doing tonight, I've had the privilege of addressing council, of being listened to. I hope I might have thrown out some seeds that will germinate into debate. It's a part of the democratic processes that have been a part of Hunters Hill for decades, and it's important that continue. If we go to this model where we have a public forum ahead of the meeting, we're not even too sure whether it will be compulsory or necessary for councillors to attend. We're very uncertain about the status of that. Then there is a total separation. That the ideas that good speakers might have put out there don't get the opportunity to germinate. There is not that openness that allows the people who have taken the time to speak to council to observe the processes. And observation of the process is an important factor in openness of processes in council. So they're my grave concerns about the model code. As Annette has already alluded to, I think what this council has been practicing for quite some time is a model. It's a model that should be followed, and I think it's in the interest of everyone that we do all that we can to allow those that particular model that we've worked on for so long to continue, and it just provides something that I think the people of Huntersville expect, and I think they'll be very disappointed if people rock up at a meeting and kind of get thrown in a silo, I think it was referred to at the commencement of a meeting, and then, you know, and I can, as a former councillor, I can imagine that you've listened to these debates at the start of a meeting, but by the time you get to actually consider that matter, a lot of that idea will just be mush in your brain, basically. I mean, I don't know that, you know, I don't think anyone has the intellect to be able to, you know, retain all the threads that have been put at a forum like that and can carry them through to apply them in their decision making.
So, and thank you so much for that, Jim. So we're only talking about an amendment to one part of the revised code.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Thank you.
Jim.
Sorry.
Councillors, any other questions? No. Thank you. Councillor Williams,
Move a motion, Mr. Mayor.
you may.
I'll move as the recommendation 1 and 2, but I'd like to include part 3.
Yes. Have you sent this through, councillor? No.
I know
If
what
you
you're
could
going
just-
to say, but it's not very long and it's very easy to.
Yes. So can I just for good measure, can we pull it up just so that we know exactly what we're voting on, and we'll get the wording up on screen. Sorry, councillor, you're adding a part 3.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The council elects not to hold a public forum under clause 4.1 of the model but substitutes a supplementary provision to facilitate public participation by retaining the current part 4 in our conduct.
That's your motion, councillor Williams.
Yes,
Is there a seconder? Councillor Lane, would you like to speak to the motion, councillor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We've heard from 2 speakers tonight, which was invaluable in understanding how the community perceives council's decision making. I think it's important that we retain our superior way of public participation at our meetings, and by including or by reinstating our part 4 provisions, we are able to facilitate the sort of engagement with our community that's very transparent, but more importantly, focuses people's attention around the issue at the time the issue is being dealt with. I think it is a retrograde step, although it is a provision for those councils that don't have a superior process for conducting public participation in its meetings, to have a forum prior to a council meeting. I say it is prior to a council meeting, so there's no obligation for councillors to turn up. And we've heard that it's quite reasonable in complex issues for speakers to have spoken, and then their thoughts and their contribution is lost by the time council gets to it in its business paper. So I think it is very important to maintain the practice that we've done so successfully in the past, and it does really engage the community in the process. If we're holding a half-hour public forum prior to a council meeting, it becomes very hard to actually allow the depth of involvement that the current process allows. If you've got multiple issues people want to multiple people want to talk about multiple issues on the agenda, a half hour is not enough time to allow those people to speak. You can extend that meeting, but then it gets into the council formal meeting. So what do you do with that? It just is a very clumsy and difficult way to engage our community in our meetings. So I think it's important that we do maintain the ability for our community to participate as they have in the past. Been very useful, very instructive, and I think everybody goes away feeling that they've had their say. So I believe we should incorporate the Part 4 provisions that we've had in our previous.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Sorry, before you do, Councillor Priestley, could I just get the general, because my understanding is that provision is one that the directive is specifically said is out. But I'll let the general manager
Thanks,
speak
Mr.
to
Mayor.
that.
True, Mr. Mayor. My understanding is you need to hold a public forum at some point in time before a meeting on items on the meeting. If you were to include our previous clause, that would be in addition to the public forum. But I think you'd probably find you might be getting 2 bites of the cherry at each meeting. That's how I would see it working, because you're still going to need a public forum, because not everyone wants to do it that way. And I think the directive is that you need to create a public forum. I know some councils are actually having their public forums the week before the council meeting. I don't have the same issue that half an hour before the council meeting. I'm sure it's we quite often move matters forward at the start of the meeting to deal with people who are in the gallery, to be able to deal with those items straight away, so that things will be still fresh in our mind. So I don't have the same concerns that the councillors and our speakers tonight have. I think there's ways we can, we work our business papers to assist the public being present for items. So, but I would think that if you're going to want to keep the old clause, you still need to have public forums at the start of the meeting.
Councillor Williams.
It's very clear in the public forum. It starts off may hold. We don't have to hold public forums. And I think it is a little bit, well, I won't say it, but I think it's important to note that may and council through the guideline is more than able and to provide a supplementary provision that at least does what that public forum provision would do. But in my mind, and I think many people's minds in our community, would be enhanced by having the current participation process. So the wording is very clear. We don't have to. It might be a provision that somehow you have to have councils that don't do it. That's the bare minimum. But if you want to do more, surely council can substitute a better process, which we've tried, tested and experienced for as long as I've been associated with this council.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillor Priestley.
Can I quickly ask a question?
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the GM. So obviously, members of the public can make the request to address council, if is
Under the structure,
under this current
public forum,
draft,
Yeah.
In the public forum. So
Correct.
could you explain? So if there were to be no requests submitted, then would the public forum not be held, and therefore, and vice versa? Like if there was a request submitted to Councillor Williams's point, then obviously council would host the public forum.
Yeah, the public forum would be set for 6 o'clock before every council meeting.
Yeah.
If there was no request to speak, the meeting would just start at 6:30, because that's the time we'll then start council meetings.
But as long as pursuant to the code, a request
Correct.
by a member of the public
forum
to
will always
address
be held, yes.
the public forum will be held.
Yes.
Okay, in that case, I'd like to foreshadow the original motion in the paper, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, any speakers against the motion? For the motion, councillor Lane.
I think we're all in a bit of a limbo because this new code of practice hasn't yet been put into effect, and some of the things that are going to really affect the time that we have to debate include the fact that we won't have briefings and that we are also shortening our council from 6 to 9:30 to now 6:30 to 9:30 with a half-hour extension possible. And you know, we often hit 9:30, and sometimes we've come dangerously close to 10 o'clock. By taking another half an hour off and without the benefit of briefings, I think we're going to find very quickly that we're going to run out of council time. And the reason I raise this is because I think that the public forums, while well intended to put it 6 to 6:30, may not work, and we may need to further amend this. Or we may find, as you've said, that other councils hold the public forum on a different day in order to maintain council's time. If that happens, then those submissions that are being made will be completely lost to us, even if we're in the room for the public forum the day before or the week before. That nexus between what's being discussed will be completely broken. And the other thing that can happen with public forums that's of a concern to me that wasn't really discussed by the speakers is we don't have all of the rules, but they're a public forum. If you think that your garbage service is terrible, you can turn up to the public forum. So we could have a situation where we have 20 people that want to come and speak to council about whatever grievance that there is, and there just isn't enough time in that half hour to talk about item 5 or item 7. And so we don't hear from the people that need to talk about specific items. And part of the problem is that the public forum guidance just hasn't even been published. And so I think if I understand what's being asked from the two speakers, it's that the public participation clause, which is actually 4A, is retained because that's the one that goes into laborious detail about how people come and speak for 3 minutes with a 1 minute extension, all the rest of it. If we take that clause out, and then let's say March, we've decided that this is unworkable and therefore we want to change the public forums, it becomes very difficult to go back to the structure that we have at the moment. And so I think out of prudence, we should have at least 4A, and I am amenable to, if Councillor Williams is, if we need to retain 4, then maybe it's retaining 4 and then we have a 4A that allows us to have public participation in the event that a council forum isn't held immediately before the meeting.
Point of clarification.
Sorry, councillor Preston.
Councillor Lane has said that we could potentially be in a situation where members of the public come and talk about whatever grievance that they might have. However, clause 4.1 of the draft code says that these submissions, oral submissions from members of the public, must be on items of business to be considered at the meeting, firstly. And secondly, clause 4.6 does say that this provision is subject to a limit of 3 minutes for any speaker and that this time can be extended by resolution of council. So just a point of clarification that it effectively mirrors the arrangement that we currently have. It actually just formalises the approach that we already tend to take, which is to give any registered speaker time at the start of the meeting to air their concerns about whatever's in the paper.
Yes,
Which leads me to speak against the motion.
Speak against the motion.
Thank you. I think this has all been a bit overblown, to be honest. I think that what we see here in the draft code is firstly put forward by the Office of Local Government, which means that it's obviously something that they see to be of benefit to councils in the state. Not to say that we can't then challenge that, but having analysed it myself against what we previously had in place, I really don't see a difference. In fact, I actually see it to be quite a good opportunity for council because it does mean that we don't have to have speakers who sit in the gallery for an entire length of a meeting waiting for their item to come up on the agenda. I think it's basically what we do already. As I mentioned, we have maybe a number of speakers who registered to speak to different motions discussed by council, and often we resolve to have these brought forward so that they can all speak at once. So effectively it's the same thing. The other thing that council can do is obviously hold an extraordinary meeting of council, which is not on the regular council meeting cycle in the event that we do hit 10 p.m. And that has happened before, where we've then had to schedule a meeting on the following evening, the Tuesday night, or whatever date that we agree on and discuss whatever's not been dealt with or we haven't had time to deal with in the Monday night meeting. So I really
Whatever date I dictate actually under the Act, but yes.
But normally our mayor is quite conciliatory.
Generally.
I really think that there's no detriment to the members of the public under this draft code put forward by the Office of Local Government. If I did think that, I would certainly be speaking in favour of the motion on the floor. I think what we have here is just a more formal, actually, opportunity for members of the public to air their concerns about items in the business paper, and I think that that can't be of any harm. So for that reason, I'll speak against the motion on the floor and foreshadow the motion in the initial business paper.
Thank you, Councillor Priest and Councillor
I want
Sleeman.
to speak to the motion.
Speak to against
To
the motion.
support it.
Support the motion.
Support the motion. I agree with Councillor Lane and Councillor Williams. It's not broken, so what are we trying to fix it? Keep it in there. I don't understand, and I would not always take guidance from the Office of Local Government. You know, they put a recommendation. We can, as a council, decide if it suits our council. And I'm comfortable with the feedback I've received from our public. They've been comfortable with the current forum.
Thank you, Councillor Sleeman. Any other speakers for the motion? Against the motion? Right of reply, Councillor Williams.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that comment that if it's not broken, why change it? It doesn't need to be fixed. We do have an exceptionally good process at the moment to engage with our community. I disagree that people will have their chance before the meeting, because as we've heard from some of the speakers tonight, and it is my belief that it is important to have those statements at the time of dealing with the matter, for councillors to be able to understand those concerns as we're deciding the matter, but equally importantly for the community to be able to see the outcome of council's deliberation close or at the same time as they've spoken. To have something an hour earlier than when a matter's dealt with, there's a big disconnect, and people will have to stick around if they want to find out the outcome for that. The other issue that I see that really supports retaining our current process is that it works really well that we bring forward items that people want to speak about, so that we do respect their time and allow them to speak in a full and frank way. I believe it's important that we retain our current process for transparency, for engagement with the community, for people to feel included in the process. And I believe that council does have the ability to elect to have a superior process. So I believe that we need to support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. That concluding the debate, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Councillors, we now move to item 4.6, Hunters Hill Music 2026, on page 300 of the agenda. Is there a move to the motion? Move, Councillor Vergara, secretary. Prieston, seconded. General Manager.
Yeah, Councillor, just one small change to the
We've skipped 300. Oh, sorry, councillors. I'll take that as an intended move and second for the Hunters Hill Music, but we are actually on item 4.5, Code of Conduct, Annual Complaint Statistics. Is there a move for that motion? Move, Councillor Williams, seconded, Councillor Sleeman. Sorry, General Manager.
And that's carried.
No, we haven't. No,
not on this one. It's the next item I need to make a comment on.
Hunters Hill Music.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry.
This one we can move on.
Councillors, any debate on this motion?
4.5 or 4.6?
This is 4.5.
No debate.
No debate.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Item 4.6, Hunters Hill Music 2026, moved. Councillor Vergara, seconded. Councillor Sleeman. General Manager.
Look, Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just in relation to item, recommendation 1, just for procedure, it's the 29th of March is the date, not the 22nd. That's been altered. So if we just change that, the rest is, as we've listed.
Were you comfortable with that, councillors?
Yeah.
Can I get our acting director to, sorry to be a stickler, but open the door to the public again, because that's been blown shut for all the multitudes wanting to get in. Councillors, is there any debate on this item? Councillor Williams.
I have some questions, Mr Mayor. So normally with these sort of requests, we actually see the letter and the reasoning why the, in this case, the Huntsville Music Society may be asking for this reduction. I agree, it provides an enormous benefit to our cultural side of our community, as did the theatre when it was in our community. And I'd hate to think that the cost of using the town hall would be a disincentive for people to make use of it. However, without the opportunity to see what their reasoning is, whether it's financial or whether whatever, I do note that in the report at the moment, if you add the 3,200 and the 1,500 we've given as a grant to assist them in their endeavours, you end up with about 4,700 that we're providing to a group in our community that's not available to other people in the community. Now, sure, they can apply, but from a transparency point of view, there is no real justification or no real formal request that's in the paper from the organisation itself. So, Mr Mayor, through you to the General Manager, was there a letter, and what was the essence of that letter in terms of was it a financial request or was it just a societal commitment from
General
council?
Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, they did email us with a written request. Sherry, I don't know whether you've got it handy to be able to just reiterate what they actually, why they've requested it.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, they did send through an email requesting a fee waiver. They were very thankful for council support over the last 2 years since they've brought the society back, and they've just said that again, it's just they're not able to run the series without our support because the money that they save on the hall fees goes to artists, like getting the artists to perform. It's not a not-for-profit organisation, so they're not making any profit. It's just about having enough funds to pay the artists.
And Sherry, this is not dissimilar to the arrangements for the last 2 years, is it? That the whole waiver?
It is, the
same.
It is the same,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Williams, are you comfortable with that?
Oh, yes, just that if you do the maths, they make potentially 6,300 per concert. Council would be only asking for 800.
It would be
anyway,
nice for a community organisation to make that sort of dough. Councillors, any further discussion on this item? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Item 4.7, development applications determined under delegated authority in October 2025. Moved Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Tanus Sleeman. Any discussion? Councillor, yes. Councillor Vigara.
No, next item.
Sorry, next item. Then, okay, Councillor Prieston.
Hi, just through you, Mr Mayor, to the relevant director. It's just interesting to note development application number 0214. This tree, a big jacaranda that's beautiful on Ferdinand Street, has been approved for removal despite the fact it's in good fair health, presumably as a result of its impact on the heritage nature of the property. It's good to see that this precedent has been set by council officers and the consultants in relation to a more practical approach being taken by council to preserve the heritage nature of such properties. I've heard numerous accounts lately of people who have trees that are impacting heritage aspects of their property that have been refused or deemed refuse and not approvals because of the tree's fair health. So thank you for that, Steve. If you'd like to shed any light on that further, let me know. Otherwise, I'll note the precedent's been set by council.
We have two sitting in Hillman Orchard right now. Councillor, thank you, Councillor Preston. Any further discussion on this item? Councillor Williams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. It's interesting that residents are required to put a DA application in to remove a tree. And in this case, we're dealing with a tree that's a mature, of moderate landscape importance, good to fair health. I don't know what qualifies a tree to be removed, but that seems like to me a tree that provides a suitable amenity to our community. My understanding, I never see in here council's application to remove trees on its property, street verges, which I believe is a requirement. Why aren't they included in here, and why isn't council using a DA? I'm referring to Johnson Street, where a 200-year-old fig tree was removed. In the past, councils had to do a DA process and it went to the LPP to remove a street tree.
For street trees?
Yes.
I don't recall that.
On council property.
Sorry. Yep.
But anyway.
I know that in
it's a
reserves
question.
it is.
It's a question that we see a lot of residential applications here, but council has no transparency or ability to see reasoning in the community, to see reasoning why council removes street trees, if not trees on its own property. So question, why don't we do the same process and have the same level of rigour that the community...
General Manager.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think we have the same level of rigour. We just don't do a formal application. So in the case of Johnson Street, as I advised, there was a arborist report on that tree. Before we removed it, we notified the local neighbours, and the tree's been removed. We don't do applications for street trees. We don't have any DA process, but we do in our council reserves and on any council-owned real property, as in not in roads. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the current system seems to work reasonably well. As I say, we certainly just don't go and remove the trees. We go through all the checking we need to do before we do that. And in the case of the Johnson Street one, it was severely damaging property, and we need to remove it.
Thank you, sorry.
Can I just add to what the General Manager said through you, Mayor? The rigour in regard to assessment of any tree being on the nature strip or the roadway or our asset versus a property or our property or private property, it's considered under the DCP. There's a review criteria in the DCP. On top of that, we request for an independent arborist report from the applicant or whoever's wishing to remove to argue the point with a qualification of that expertise for us to assess it. Our experts assess it. So therefore, there's criteria, there's rigour, and there's detailed assessment with criteria. And depending on where the tree lands, it could land on our asset, could land on our property, council's property. That if it lands on our property and we own the tree on our property, we go through a DA process. If anybody like these applications show a tree is on a private property, we go through the same process. So I just wanted to add to that.
Thank you. Sorry. Councillor Williams, I thought that you might have some comments about that.
Oh, well, the question I have through you, Mr. Mayor,
yes,
General Manager, is if we don't go through DA processes or formal transparency processes for removal of street trees, why did we go through that process in High Street? Where two figs were proposed to be removed, there was a formal process of engagement with the community, and at the end of the day, because of community input, we only removed one tree to allow the new tree to grow before the second one would be further considered. So there was a formal process for that. It provided transparency. Maybe council is doing its due diligence behind the scenes, but the community doesn't know that.
So Williams, my recollection of that is that it wasn't a DA, but it was a community consultation piece around those two specifically, and that was because of the significant nature of those two trees, and they were obviously large.
And an arborist report too.
And I think, you know, any significant tree is going to have an arborist report attached to it. It's just not. I haven't. I don't recall. I don't recall when we put DAs in for street trees. I understand what you're saying about public consultation, which I agree with. But did we ever put DAs
When
in?
we first started the LPP, tree removal was set.
On street tree removal or within
Yes,
public
there was
parks?
a classic one in Gladesville Road that went to the LPP. And it was a very spindly thing, but it still went there. So the question is,
Yeah.
has council considered, does the staff, through you, Mr Mayor, to the General Manager, could we consider a transparent process to engage the community, whether it's through a DA process, which would put it on an equivalent basis with what our community has to do, or at least an exhibition period to allow the wider community? Because things like that tree in Johnson Street affect more than just the immediate neighbours. And I can't see any damage to the house, there may be, but the wider community needs to have a say when something is significant and prominent in our landscape is removed.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Councillors, is there any further discussion on this item? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against, that is carried unanimously without Councillor Preston in the room. Now move to item 4.8. Moved Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Tanous-Sleeman. Any discussion, councillors? Question, Councillor Vergara.
Through you, Mr Mayor, probably to the General Manager. The first development application, the applicant is Councillor Lane for future learning. Should that have been a declared conflict of interest?
Is it? Councillor Lane, are you intending to vote on your own DA?
No, it's already been decided. We're just noting, but if I need to abstain, and I apologise if I should have declared it, I'm happy to declare that I'm the applicant for the report to be noted now.
Are you intending to stay in the room?
I don't have to. If you'd like me to step out, sure.
I would. I mean, it's your call. I would imagine this was a significant pecuniary interest, which should have been declared at the start of the meeting, and that you should not only recuse yourself from voting but remove yourself from the room. But that would be counsel I can't give you. Right. I would suggest. I won't suggest anything.
Look, I'll disagree that it's a pecuniary interest because it's in relation to a tree that doesn't exist. But I'm happy to remove myself from the room for this item, so I'll leave now. Thank you.
That would be, yes, I think that would be probably wise. Okay, councillors, we'll move into debate on the item. Is there any speakers for? Against? Any other discussion? Nope. Right reply. Put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously with Councillor Lane having left the room.
So declared.
Yeah.
To be accurate.
We're now item 4.9, investments report as at 31st October 2025. Is there a move to the motion? Moved Councillor Tanous-Sleeman, seconded Councillor Williams. Any discussion on the item? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Item 4.10, minutes of the Clark's Point Reserve and Morts Reserve Plan and Management Community Advisory Committee meeting. Moved Councillor Tanu-Sleeman, seconded Councillor Bagara. Any discussion? Councillor Lane.
Just two questions. The first one was, it said that council's property advisor, Jeff Ellis, was present. I believe when we spoke about the membership of the community advisory group, there were 2 council staff, not 3.
Councillor, professional staff will, at the discretion of the general manager, attend any committee meeting that they want to, or that the general manager wants them to. I'm assuming there'll be many different council staff on the reporting to those committees regularly.
Okay. And then the second one was, I note that the 2 commercial members, it says to attend the next meeting. And it's just to clarify why they went to that meeting.
Chair.
Mr. Mayor, they were unable to attend the previous meeting, but they've confirmed that they will attend the next meeting.
Right, thank you.
Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Zagara.
Yeah, so I chair that CAD, and I just want to congratulate the director who did a very good job with the agenda and setting a path and a plan for discussions going forward. It seems like it'll be very productive, and we've just got the tip of the iceberg at the moment. There's still a lot to go, so it's very exciting.
The board director was subject to my suggestions during the recent art event. I think that I've half derailed the plan. Sorry, Annie.
Right, we'll deal with it.
Yeah, general manager will deal with me later. Councillor Williams, sorry, you wanted to speak.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I was just wondering, along the lines I think it's been raised, is that when we agreed and moved the recommendation in relation to the establishment of this committee, the Green Estate, some people's minds, was not included as represented on the group.
The which, sorry?
However,
the which, sorry?
Bushland and trees. However, because we didn't put the Bushland Advisory Committee on it or somebody
Yes.
from Kelly's Bush on it, it was said that council would be sending along its vegetation staff to represent the Green Estate. And I don't see anybody here that is representing the environment specifically, particularly from their understanding of the botanic issues and its connectivity in a sustainable world. So maybe you have a look back at the original decision and the tape, but I think it was pretty clear from my memory that council staff, or the response was that there would be a bush or a tree person from council represented on the committee.
Councillor Williams, again, I think that the general manager sitting on that committee as the head of this organisation, from a staff perspective, is you can't get more involved than that, and he will draw on the knowledge of all of the council staff, and particularly the director. But I can only say that is going to be something that is front of mind, and I'll let the general manager speak.
Mr. Mayor, my recollection, what I did say was that the matter would be listed on various committees for their input. So the Bushland Committee will get access to make comments and so forth, and any other committee that wishes to as well. Events Committee might be another one. So that was where the input would be coming from. And as the Mayor said, myself and Annie, I think as the 2 council representatives, if there's times when we need to bring any other people in, we will. But the idea was really to make sure it got as we move forward, that the ideas would go through the various other committees of council to get input.
Councillor Bagara, you're chair of Bushland Management Committee, aren't you?
I'm not, that's Councillor Kassab, but I did chair at the last meeting.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And the minutes of the CAG were circulated to the members, and it was also the main item of discussion.
Yes.
At the last Bushland Management Advisory Committee.
Excellent. Councillors, any further discussion on this item? If not, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, we need to have a motion to move into council committee of the whole. Moved Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Ternouth-Sleeman. Any discussion? If not, all those in favour? Against, that is carried unanimously. We will turn off the cameras and shut the door.